Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are tackling something huge. We're unpacking the transition from VMware Cloud Foundation, or VCF, to a physical infrastructure stack. Now, it is so incredibly tempting to look at this and think, okay, this is just a hardware problem, right? Just a giant puzzle of server racks and network cables. But we're going to completely flip that perspective today. Because honestly, you could buy the most expensive, top-of-the-line hardware on the planet, but if your engineering team doesn't actually know how to run it, yeah, your project is going to stall out on day one. Which brings us to the core thesis of this whole explainer. Training readiness is migration readiness. If you're a C-suite executive or an IT director, this right here, this needs to be your anchor. The absolute success of your infrastructure transformation rests entirely on preparing your people. It's really not just about procuring shiny new equipment. It's about ensuring your team can actually deploy, manage, and troubleshoot that gear when the comfortable safety net of virtualization is pulled away. Bottom line, if you aren't ready to train, you are absolutely not ready to migrate. So how do we get to that point of total readiness? Well, we're going to follow this exact 6-step roadmap. First, assessing the skill gap. Then, defining the target stack. Third, pre-migration training and governance. Fourth, training under fire. Fifth, preserving institutional knowledge. And finally, number 6, the 30-day action plan. Let's dive in. Starting right off with step 1, assessing the skill gap. Look, before you can figure out where your team needs to go, you have to know exactly where they are right now. You need a highly structured inventory. Right now, your staff probably leans really heavily into virtualization skills, right? We're talking deep, everyday proficiency in vSphere, NSXT, vSAN, SDDC Manager. It's a highly abstracted world. But tomorrow? Tomorrow, they are going to face the harsh, unforgiving reality of the physical layer. Suddenly, they're going to need serious chops in bare metal OS administration, physical network configuration, and dealing with dedicated SAN or NAS environments. This isn't just a minor pivot. It's an entirely different operational paradigm. And you've got to categorize these gaps by specific roles because, your sysadmins, your network engineers, your storage admins, they are all going to have wildly different learning curves. Moving on to step 2, defining the target stack. Okay, so once you know your skill gaps, you've got to lock in your vendor decisions. Do not, and I repeat, do not buy training before your infrastructure decisions are finalized. It is a massive budget risk. Misaligned training is literally just throwing money out the window. Every single vendor choice sends your team down a totally different rabbit hole. Take hypervisors, for instance. Proxmox VE, Microsoft Hyper-V, KVM, they each demand completely distinct prerequisite skills. And it's the exact same story for your network platform. Are you going Cisco, Aruba, Juniper? What about storage? Pure Storage, NetApp, Dell? You cannot procure a single training course until you know exactly who makes up your new stack, because the training paths and the protocol nuances are totally unique to each vendor. All right, step 3, pre-migration training and governance. Once your stack is locked, setting up a RACI matrix is absolutely crucial. You need to define exactly who assigns the training, who delivers it, and who tracks the completion. If there's any ambiguity here, it will kill your project's momentum. But honestly, equally important is defining your point of no return. This is the technical threshold where your migration becomes irreversible, like the moment the last production workload finally leaves VCF. And you might be wondering, why keep this quiet until then? Well, premature disclosure invites a ton of unwanted noise and aggressive vendor pushback. So keep it quiet, get your legal and procurement ducks in a row behind the scenes, and only communicate externally when you cross that point of no return. At the end of the day, a training plan without milestones is just a wish list. Every single phase gate has to tie directly to a concrete deliverable. Take a look at this matrix. 3 to 6 months out, your focus is purely on inventory and lab time, and your deliverable is a signed-off training matrix. Then, during the actual migration window, it's all about supervised hands-on work, yielding competency sign-off sheets. In that 0 to 90-day post-migration phase, you're doing gap reviews to build an updated skills register. And ongoing, that's about certifications and fire drills to prove your training ROI. Let me be clear. No migration phase should ever begin until the prerequisite training is officially signed off by the responsible manager. Period. Up next, step 4, training under fire. Okay, so the strategy is set, the classroom is closed, and theoretical knowledge is about to crash headfirst into raw reality. So let me ask you a somewhat provocative question. What happens when hardware actually fails under load? Because during a live migration, hardware stress is going to surface failure modes that literally no pristine, perfect lab environment can reliably reproduce. You are going to face faults. You're probably going to see a few localized panics. When you move to physical server management, those first bare metal installs, the RAID rebuilds, and yes, those totally unexpected hardware failures, believe it or not, these are high-value, totally irreplaceable curriculum moments. And when, not if, but when those failures happen, you need a rigid incident response structure. Step 1, a P1 or P2 incident occurs. This should trigger a predefined escalation path, so there's absolutely zero guessing about who to call. Step 2, the team resolves it using the runbooks you've got. But Step 3 is where the absolute magic happens, the mandatory 15-minute debrief. High-stakes moments are the best classrooms you'll ever have, so you must mandate a debrief to document the root cause and the fix without exception. And then, Step 4, you immediately feed those fresh, hard-won lessons straight back into your living runbooks. You know, technical performance mid-migration is completely inseparable from team resilience. Your engineers are going to be under sustained, intense stress, so leaders have to actively manage this human layer. Communicate daily wins, actively monitor for burnout signals or skill anxiety, and crucially, you have to reframe mistakes. Say it with me. Errors made in a supervised migration context are learning events. They are not performance failures. You have to reinforce this explicitly if you want to keep morale high and keep the whole project moving forward safely.
Okay, Step 5, preserving institutional knowledge.
So the migration is finally over. Take a breath. But guess what? You've just gained a massive amount of operational intelligence. To protect it, you have to build a formal knowledge management system. Look, knowledge that only lives inside one individual engineer's head, that is a severe operational liability and a massive succession planning failure. You've got to take action. Take those raw migration notes and convert them into living runbooks with named owners and defined review cycles. Documents without owners are just liabilities. You need to build a centralized, easily searchable internal wiki that covers all your failure scenarios. Run quarterly fire drills, simulate a routing loop or a dead switch, and debrief as a team. And finally, tie training completion directly to performance reviews. It proves from the very top down that continuous learning is mandatory. It's not optional. Which brings us to our final section, the 30-day action plan. We've covered the whole life cycle, so here is your immediate sprint. If you're an IT director, this is exactly what you need to do over the next 4 weeks to get this off the ground. Week 1, launch a skills inventory survey. Capture their current VCF proficiency and their self-assessed readiness for the new target domain. Week 2, lock in your target infrastructure stack, hypervisor, networking, storage, and shortlist your training providers. Week 3, build a role-based training matrix directly from that survey data and submit your formal budget. Oh, and definitely do not forget to add line items for backfill coverage. You'll need it. Week 4, identify your migration champions and get them enrolled in the first training cohort. Because their success, that becomes the proof of concept for the rest of your engineering team. Circling all the way back to our opening anchor, training readiness is migration readiness. Every single week that you delay your training strategy, you compress your runway and you massively amplify your cutover risk. So I'm going to leave you with this one question to chew on. Is your engineering team truly prepared for the gritty, physical reality of your new infrastructure? Or are you just hoping they'll somehow figure it out on the fly? Start assessing your gaps today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this gives you the structured clarity you need to empower your teams for the big migration ahead.